Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Punching Back with George Papadopoulos, Casual Fridays. I have two incredible guests on the show today. My good guy, Fleccas over here, and my good man, Tom Arnold, right there.
How are you?
Doing
what
amazing.
What an honor to be on your show amongst friends.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Coronavirus for you.
Coronavirus
for you.
Think what you just got from me, asshole.
Oh, that's probably true.
You got everything, all the flus, all of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sharing is caring, and if we could all share the coronavirus, at least we know when we're all going to die together.
Well,
so.
we are all going to die. That's for sure. Just know that. All of us are going to die. And none of us are going to make it out of this, but we should do our best to not get the coronavirus in the meantime.
Exactly. So what do you guys want to talk? What's going on, Fleccas? What's happening since last time I saw you?
I've just been avoiding the coronavirus, but I haven't been doing a good job. I've taken like 6 flights in the last 10 days, so I probably have it. But I assume everyone has it too. I'm at the point now where I think everyone's been in contact with it, and it's almost better to get it first because then you get the resources from the hospitals before it gets depleted.
Everybody's got it. It's like AIDS. Everybody's got it.
This is the 2020 AIDS.
No, the Corona beer thing.
What happened
because
with
the
that?
coronavirus. When I was a kid, when AIDS first, there was something called AIDS diet candy.
What?
And it was very popular. And my people in my family, the ladies in my family used to eat it because it did have sugar and it made you not want to eat. And it was very popular. It's called AIDS diet candy. And then the AIDS epidemic hit, and they're like, "Wow, this is bad for our candy," and they had to pull it off the market forever. So the Corona thing, being the coronavirus, that's kind of lighthearted. But I'll tell you what, when you got a candy named AIDS diet candy, that was bad. That was
So it's hitting Corona beers, you're saying?
Well, who likes Corona beer anyway? I haven't had a drink in over 30 years, and I know it's crap.
How the hell have you managed to stay away? I always say to myself, I'm not going to have a drink anymore. I'm not going to have coffee anymore. I can't list. How the hell did you do it for 30 years?
Well, I was arrested a lot, and I was
just like me.
Yeah. yeah, exactly. Well, I served. What did you serve? 11 days. I served 10 once.
Oh, I beat
but it
you.
wasn't in the
I beat you
federal.
by a
It
day.
wasn't up there with all the meth people like you. It was in Johnson County Jail in Iowa, and it was my third drunk driving, and I didn't get charged with 3 because that would be a felony, but they're like, you pay this fine or you go to jail for 10 days. And I was on break from school. I go, I'll go to jail for 10 days, and they just had a Grateful Dead concert in town, so that's who I was in the fucking cell with, all those yahoos. But George, you know what? When they shut the door, as you and I talked about, they shut the door and you're locked in there. Am I right?
Well, exactly. Well, tell me about your experience in there. We've never shared our war stories.
Yeah. I grew up and people where I'm from, we drank early. I was raised by a single father. My mom was a lunatic, and we drank. When we were 12 or 11, we were getting drunk. Guess what you do in Tumble, Iowa? Getting wasted and then getting in fights, and sometimes would be with the police, and sometimes and doing stupid things. Now, where I grew up, you either drank or you did drugs, even pot. Like it was the grease versus rednecks. And I never smoked pot until I got out of high school because those are that kind of people. And man, our football coach, by the way, I'm going to say, our football coach, a guy named Dave Clement, he'd been the MVP at Iowa the year before. He was a linebacker, didn't make it to a pro, and suddenly he's our football coach. He's not that much older than me. I was a quarterback. He fucking hated me. I hated him. And just the rough, this says a lot about where we're from. They go have the Arnold drill, which all the linemen line up, and I have to run through them, and they kick and punch, and I played football so I could get my jersey.
Where'd you play football?
I've at Tumble High School.
Oh,
and I
nice
said,
high
I
school.
want that red jersey. And he goes, you don't get to keep it after season. I go, fuck you, I do. He came into English class, saw me in the jersey, ripped it off my body. And, that's how we're friends now. When I was out at the Rose Bowl a couple years ago, we sit together. I love him. I respect him. But he also was our gym coach, and he came up with the balls, for dodgeball. We call it bombardment. He goes, greasers over here, rednecks over here. Let's fucking fight. And then, it was like
it was like a Michael Jackson
then it was
video.
a split.
It was like the Michael Jackson beat it,
Oh,
It's one of those kind of things.
But even then, there was dividing them, us.
Them,
and
us.
bad. And so anyway, I got arrested 7 times. I fighting, public nudity,
Public-
bullshit. Yeah. And that's what I worked at Hormel at the meatpacking plant. I worked on the kill floor for 3 years to save money for college. And I started going to community college, Indian Hills Community College, which is where we're from. And my friends are all in Iowa already, going to a real college. And I said, one night, I'm like, listen, I'd called in sick. I was working nights. I want to go to this party, Indian Hills party. It got over about 7 p.m. because it's a community college and the median age of people is 70 years old or 60. And I said, that's just not enough. I want to, before we go back to the dorm, let's do something collegey. Let's streak. This is 1979 or 80. And streaking had been in California like 1968. By the time it gets to Iowa, and so we'll go to Mr. Quick's. We went to Mr. Quick's restaurant, and we took off me and Bo and Mike, they were just out here. We took off our clothes and jumped up on the table and started screaming at our underwear on our head. But there wasn't anybody there. Like, it wasn't satisfying. It went by the diner. There's nobody there. This is in Tomo, Iowa. And I go, I know a place where there are people. Jefferson Square Manor. Because all the nurses are working. We know them. They love us. They'll think this is hilarious, so we run through there at the old folks' home. So we ran through there, and by now the cops are following us. It's a small town. So we come out of Jefferson Square Manor naked, and we jump in the backseat of my car, me and Mike and Mo, 3 fat guys, rubbing asses, trying to put our underwear back on. And I'm like, fuck this, we're arrested. I'm going to get out of my car and put on my underwear like a goddamn human being. And so I get out of the car, and this cop, Steve Jones, I still know him, he handcuffs me behind my back. And it's December in Iowa. And everybody I knew happened to be driving by. And I go, are you going to give me a fucking, he goes, you're a pervert. I go, I'm a pervert. You better give me a fucking blanket. And so he was so excited to have me, the naked guy, because they hated me, that my buddies kind of got out of it because they couldn't identify somebody's ass from their face. And they took me to jail. And my father was a pillar of the community, Jack Arnold. He was what people loved my father, respected him. And so all this nonsense with me, my sister, who was the biggest methamphetamine dealer in America.
What?
Yeah, you could Google that, Lori Arnold. So he just couldn't believe his son would get in all this trouble. So anyway, he had to come down to jail again. And, as a father, I used to think, well, Dad didn't care. He had all these kids. He didn't care if I got in trouble. But once I had my son, he cared because you care about everything. You love your kids. So he came down to the jail and he goes, Tommy, I heard that you ran naked through Jefferson Square Manor, you and Mike and Bo. And he said, listen, son, I know you've done some reckless things, but that's depraved behavior. And I just can't. I go, listen, Dad, Sheriff Irwin is a freaking liar. I did not do that. And he's like, well, I didn't think you would do that. I go, okay, Dad, give me my underwear. I'm standing here naked. Like, he couldn't face how bad, because he just wanted the best in his kids. So he's like, they say you did this, but eventually I made a decision. I'm going to stop drinking. It was easier. Then, of course, after that, I had a motorcycle wreck in 2008, broke my back on PCH. I'd never been into pain pills or opioids, and people I sponsored, I was like, I'm a cocaine and alcohol guy. And that's what I did in the 80s. But I don't get what you do. But I'll tell you, they came to the highway, the ambulance gave me a shot, and I'll tell you, I was like, oh yeah, that works. So I stayed on the pain pills too long. I took a 20-year sobriety cake, and I was like, I am still on the pain medication for that motorcycle wreck. I am not sober, and so start that again. And then my son, Dr. Drew knows about this. I had a thing with benzos, which are Ativan and the Xanax and Valium, because I wasn't sleeping at night. And, if you follow you could Google this, but when I was a kid, there was a pedophile in our neighborhood growing up who was my babysitter. So I've talked about this. So when I got sober, I said, I got to find this guy. So my brother and I, we found him, and he's a big religious leader and a big businessman. So I practiced how I was going to confront him because I didn't want to get in more trouble. So I went to his place of business in Des Moines. He moved.
Did he abuse you?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, he
God.
raped me. He did bad
shit.
stuff to the other kids.
Wow,
And
sorry,
my mom,
man.
the thing about drunks is, I got to tell you, they're sloppy. So my mom, before she left my dad, they got divorced when I was 4, said, okay, this guy will be your babysitter. I'm going to go drinking or whatever. And so you're also so scared, as a little kid, because the guy lived directly across the street from us. And he was like, my dad would pull up, and all I had was my dad and my little sister, brother. He said, I'm going to kill your dad. And, everybody has guns in Iowa. Anyway, and so if you tell anyone, and that really works. I mean, so anyway, when I got older, I got sober, because I kind of not thought about it that much, but you get sober, you got to put everything together. I'm going to find that guy. So my brother is, my investigator. We find him. I walk into his place of business. The receptionist sees me. She's like, "Oh my God, Tom Arnold." I go, "I'm here to see Terry Williams." She goes, "I'll tell him." I go, "Don't tell him." And I hadn't seen him for a long time. I started going down the hall to his office. He came out of his office for some reason, starts walking towards me, and I start my speech. "I'm here to give you back the pain and shame you caused me as a kid. If you try to do that to me now, I'd break your effing." And he got right up on me and stuck his finger in my chest. And he's a big guy, but for a second I was like, I am 4 years old again. I'm afraid of this guy. And then I rebounded. I grabbed his arm and put him on the wall, and I said, "I would break your effing neck." And by now, all his employees had come out and seen it and heard it. So I got out of there. I could see in his eyes that, he got that. I thought, so I went out of there, and at the time, Terry Branstad was governor of Iowa. He's a Republican. He's the ambassador to China now, I think, for Trump. And so I went right over to the Iowa State Capitol. It was close. I went in his office. I said, "Terry, listen, man, this guy is a pedophile. He did this to me, and the statute of limitations. You got to stop. And I just found out he's about to adopt his fourth son. You need to stop that goddamn." Like, I was yelling, like these people that go watching him, and he's like, "God damn it, Tom, that's a federal offense. You asking me it's a federal offense. Me doing it will be a federal offense. Get the fuck out of here. This didn't happen." And then about 3 or 4 days later, my brother called me. He goes, "The adoption, there was a paper snafu. He and his wife didn't get to adopt that fourth son." And I know it was Terry Branstad, who's a Republican, who's on but people, and then I said to myself, have I done enough? I confronted the guy. I said his name on Oprah. I did. And I said, so I had my farmhands 6 weeks, for 6 weeks, every 3 nights, go up and put his picture kid high on every pole around it, blocks around his house, picture, crimes, and everything, kid high, and just to make sure everybody knew, and so, so I thought, I've dealt with that. I put that away. But Dr. Drew said, when your son is born, first of all, you can't believe how perfect they are. And you think, was I ever like that? But when your son gets close to 4 years old, it's going to bring back, and I wasn't sleeping, and I started taking Xanax, which you shouldn't do as an addict, and ended up, having to get some rehab for that too, and start trauma therapy. But it's each thing. I could be addicted to anything, and but again, I'm a father, so I can't do that.
And your son is?
My son is 6.
6, yeah.
But I mean, you look at him, he's about 4 years old, and you're like, wait a minute, that's what I look like when these things happen? Fucking people are monsters. Because in your mind, you're like, I was a bad kid. There's something up with me. Even though you've dealt with it, you're always like, I was, maybe it was me. And then you look at your son and he's perfect. And you're that was me. And so, it was fun because I got to go back to my hometown before I confronted the guy, back to the street I grew up on, Center Avenue, and went sort of house to house to see my old friends. And the boys wouldn't talk about it because they thought it was gay. You get raped by a fucking dude. How's that gay when you're a kid? But the sisters all talked, the older sisters. And I said, I don't need anybody to support me, but I'm going to do this. And then Terry Williams' brother came forward at my sister's drug trial and said, he did it to me. Then 30 people came forward. His own brother, and
so what happened then? What happened to him then after admitting it?
So there was a statute of limitations. He lost everything. As far as I know, he's in a home, or I don't know what's happening. But people, so I felt like, well, I've done, I'm no shame about this. And so his house is bulldozed. We made sure bulldoze his house, bulldoze my house. It's a parking lot because we were next to the football stadium. I go, I don't ever want to see that house. We're gonna bulldoze that whole area. So that does it. My fear originally was I got to find this guy because I'd be at Walmart in a Tubwa, and he'd be behind me going, see that famous guy? I fucked him. So I'm like, oh no, that's not what's gonna happen. I'm gonna come to you because these guys. I just said my fear. I'm not, because I'd like he would tell anybody about his pedophilia, but in my mind, I'm like, this dude, I'm going to get my handle. I'm going to take charge of the situation. I'm going to find him, and I'm going to go, so, there you go. So that, and I also, I don't know if I'm not saying that's why I drank. It's not, You know, my mom was an alcoholic. I probably got it DNA. I also liked it. But, you know, it's good to deal with all this stuff. There's a lot of addicts I know can't get sober. They never dealt with the childhood stuff. You really got to do all of it. I have to be sober. I have to deal with my mental health and this other stuff. And I have to live a life that's honest and try to make amends. And I fail a lot, but you know, you have to work on all cylinders. Some guys should just go into a single A meeting or something and they're done. Or they have one night where they're wasted and wake up. That doesn't feel good. They quit drinking.
So what was that moment of clarity for you then? Like, what was the epiphany that said, I'm done, that's it?
Honestly, there was a moment, and I lived for the last 10 years on Benedict Canyon, which is a street up here, you know. And I did notice that I saw on TV that 30 years before, this is where I'm living with my kids, 4 and 6, right up the block, maybe eighth of a mile. Benedict Canyon was where Roseanne and I lived. And it said the 30th anniversary of us getting married was that day. And I thought, you know, I drive by that house every day and how crazy that was and how fun that was. And Roseanne was, when I met Roseanne, when I was 23, we used to party hard. She'd come to the Midwest or we'd tour and we both party hard. But then when I came out to write the show, I started coming out in 86, 87. She was like one day, oh my God, do you party like this every day? And that was cocaine, alcohol. I go, yeah, I do. She goes, oh, you can't do that. She goes, I thought you only did it when we were together. I go, no, I do it every day. It's really cheap out here too. She goes, you can't do that. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to hide this from her because I don't even know how to. So, you know, I wouldn't even, when we became a couple, I wouldn't move into her house. I stayed in my apartment in Van Nuys. I worked on the show. And because I had this thing like, you know, this is not cool. And I don't know. So we were about to get married in 89 and it was coming up to our wedding. And I was fucked up when I couldn't remember the code to the gate outside there. And so I had to go up to Mulholland to call her to let me in the gate. There's a long gate up to the place. And I'm like, I know what's going to happen. She's going to get out of the car and fucking punch me and do this bullshit. And she pulled her car down. I saw her come down the driveway and she got out of her car and she hugged me and said, I want you to come home. And I was like, oh my God, this is real. Like you feel that, and then I went in the house. I said, this is the drugs I've been using. I've been lying to you. And I'll do it at the bachelor party. I'll do it at the wedding. I can't quit. I genuinely can't quit. And then I ended up taking a cab because my stepkids lived there too, who were also using drugs. We ended up all going to rehab together, but I got in a cab and I went to this New Beginnings place. And, you know, it wasn't all, I'll tell you this last part. You got to do it for yourself. It's really, we're shady, man, addicts. We're so used to making, just skirting by, getting our job back, doing this bullshit. But I got to this place, this New Beginnings, and my first day or second day, I was in charge of going to the pharmacy to get the newspapers to bring them up, and it was everywhere that we were getting a divorce, and I was on cocaine, and it was on TV, and I'm like, what the, no job, no nothing. And so I took time in there to really work on myself. They kept saying, you're worth it. You got to do it. And it never even occurred to me to get sober myself. I want to get sober for my dad. I want to do this stuff. And then it one day when I woke up and I felt physiologically good, every other time I go, I got to order some drugs. Immediately, I feel good. I just thought, I want to feel like this. And so I called her as the 8th day of this 30-day thing. We weren't talking. And I said, listen, I love you. Thank you for getting me here. I understand why we're not together. I'm not on the show, but I'm going to stay here and I'm going to do this for myself. And she's like, oh, we're together. We're getting married. You are the show. Like that quick. She went to that. And so we did get married exactly. And I thought, my God, if I could have just known that I could have manipulated her by saying those words, I would have just said those words. I'm here for myself, but I genuinely meant it. And so I'm grateful I had that time. And then we got married. It was crazy. But you got to do it. You got to go, hey, I'm worth it. Everybody, and everybody is, We all are. Everybody, we're all worth it. And so there you go.
Yeah,
that was deep, man.
That was very deep.
That touched me
like that.
That touched me a lot. That was power. That was really powerful. I think a lot of people listening to this and watching this can relate. And I think you probably may have helped a lot of people with what you just said. So that was
it was
really deep,
it was
man.
long-winded. Sorry, I just started.
No, that was actually beautiful in my opinion. So
Thank you.
Yeah, that was.
I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe. And if you're listening to this episode on the Himalaya app, if you are, congratulations, because you're already using the best new podcast app out there. If you're not, you're missing out. Whether you're a podcaster or a fan, Himalaya is designed with you in mind, with a ton of cool features like dark mode, curated, shareable playlists, and collections made just for you, along with personalized recommendations to help you find your new favorite podcast. And the best part is, it's free and easy to use. It's definitely my favorite listening app, and I'm sure it'll be yours too. So do yourself a favor, download Himalaya in your app store today, and be sure to follow. Get your popcorn ready once you're there. Thanks so much. Tune in next week.